So we have written our first line of code. Now, again, the question is, how do we store our data? Well, you already know the answer. We would need something known as variables. So we've got all these different names of people over here. So we've got John, Sam, and Matt. And if you have to store this data somewhere, you'd have to store it in a variable. So let's go ahead and work with variables in Python. Now, let's say I'll name this variable as employee name. So I'll just type in employee name over here, and I will give the name of the employee as John. Now I'll print out this variable employee name. So as you see, I have this value John, and I have stored this value inside this variable employee name, and I get the result John. Now, as I've already told you guys, this variable is a temporary storage space. So it will not hold the same value every time. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and I will change the value which is present inside this variable. So employee name, and this time I will store the value Sam inside this. So let me just type in Sam, and then I'll print out this variable again. So I'll type in employee name. Right. So this time this employee name variable has the value Sam inside it. Now similarly, I'll go ahead and change the value which is present inside it. So John, Sam, and our third employee is Matt. So let me just go ahead and print out this as well. So employee name. So as you see over here, I have changed the value which is present in this variable again. So this is how you can work with variables. Now, this is the reason Python is known as a dynamically typed programming language. So you don't have to initialize your variables with a specific data type. So whatever data type the value has, the same data type will be associated with the variable as well. Now you again must be confused what exactly is this data type. So let's understand that. So as I already told you, every variable is associated with a data type. So you've got different types of data. You've got character data, you've got int data, boolean, and string. So let's start with integer data. So integer data is basically your integer values. So you can have -1, -100, 500, 1000, and so on, right? So this is your integer data. And then you can have floating point data. So floating point data is basically numbers which are decimal points. So 3.14, 15.97, -3.879, all of these are floating point numbers. And then you've got boolean values. So boolean values are basically true and false values. And then finally, we've got string type of data, right? So Sam and Matt. So wherever you have characters and it is enclosed in single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes, that is your string type of data. Okay, let's go to Jupyter Notebook and work with these different types of data. So I'll start by creating a integer type data. So I'll name the variable as A1, and inside this, I'll store the value 100, and let me print out A1. So as you see, 100 is stored in A1. Now let me check the type of this variable. So I have this type function. Inside this, I will give in the name of the variable, which is A1. I'll click on run. So as you see, A1 is of integer type. Now I'll go ahead and change the value inside A1. So this time I will store in 3.14. Now I'll again check the type of A1. So type of A1, let me type in A1 over here. Right, so as you see, now since I've stored 3.14 inside the variable A1, the type has changed from integer to float. Now I'll go ahead and store a boolean value inside this. So A1, I'll store the value true inside this. Let me print out A1 over here. Right, so true was stored inside A1. Now let me check the type of this. So type of A1. So as you see, this is of type boolean. Now I will go ahead and store a string type into this. So let me again type A1, and the value which I'll be storing inside this would be actually string. So I'll store Sparta inside this. Let me just print out A1 over here. Right, so I've stored Sparta. Now let me check the type of it. So type of A1. And as you see, this is of type string. So we've got one more data type, which is actually known as complex. So complex numbers have a real part and an imaginary part. So when you were in high school, you would have worked with numbers such as 4 plus 5i or 10 minus 5i, right? So over here, the left side of the term is actually the real part. So in 5 plus 10i, 5 would be your real part. And the 10i, so whatever is associated with the I part of it, the 10, that is your imaginary part. This is a complex number, which would have both the real part and the imaginary part associated with it. Now in Python programming language, to work with these complex numbers, so the I is actually represented with J. So now what I'll do is I'll store a number inside this. So I'll name that complex number to be 3 plus 5j. Now let me print out A1. Right, so this is 3 plus 5j. Now let me check the type of this. Type of A1. So as you see, this is a complex number.